I'm at the Vic Juba right now with Belle Plaine. How's it going?
Good. It's great.
Good. Now, you guys are playing here, but you're in the middle of a tour. What's your tour called?
Do we have a name for this tour? It's we don't have a name for the tour. It's just the tour.
And what album are you touring in support of?
This is our new album called Notes from a Waitress, and it just came out on January 27th.
And where did the inspiration for the album come from?
Well, a lot of traveling is what kind of brought it about. The title comes from me being a waitress and using that as a way to travel through the world. And the rest of it just came from different stops that I made as I was getting to Australia. One's from Waikiki. One song is from the viewpoint of standing on the shores of Victoria and looking across to Port Angeles. And then there's just sort of a few songs that are less obvious. One's called Vegas, so of course that's about Vegas. It's a lot about traveling and my experiences as I was in every place.
Now, when you guys were working on the new album, what was that experience like?
Well, we worked with people that I went to school with at MacEwan, and so we live in Regina, and we being Jeremy Sauer and I, who's my co-writer, we went up to Edmonton and hung out with all of our college buddies and recorded the album there. So the whole band is people that we went to school with, and it was a college reunion essentially.
And it was just like at a local studio there?
Yeah, a friend of mine that I went to school with in MacEwan, he's opened up his own studio called Edmonton, and he recorded the album for us and produced it.
And where did the inspiration for the album come from?
Well, a lot of traveling is what kind of brought it about. The title comes from me being a waitress and using that as a way to travel through the world. And the rest of it just came from different stops that I made as I was getting to Australia. One's from Waikiki. One song is from the viewpoint of standing on the shores of Victoria and looking across to Port Angeles. And then there's just sort of a few songs that are less obvious. One's called Vegas, so of course that's about Vegas. It's a lot about traveling and my experiences as I was in every place.
And how do you guys work together when you're writing the songs?
Usually I come to Jeremy with a melody and lyrics, and then we'll sit down and he'll help me compose the chord structure. And when I say help me, he composes the chord structure. And then we basically sit down and arrange it with the band after that and do some trimming and that sort of thing. The band has just a bit more overall input. When you add the drummer, you know, he's got an idea of what makes sense for him to play, and you just trust that that's all going to become cohesive and work towards a better song. And we were lucky. Everybody was very collaborative when we were away recording the album. So I think I'm very proud of it. I think we got a really beautiful album out of the process.
And the ideas for the songs, are those like your personal experiences, or where does that stuff come from?
Yeah, they're pretty literal. When you read the lyrics, you know, Waikiki is about my crummy vacation, and Notes from a Waitress is about the job that I worked in Sydney, and it's, you know, just full of all the waitressing lingo that you kind of get used to when you're working in the service industry. So they're pretty much directly pulled from things that I've experienced. I don't write in metaphor very often. It's usually like straight out of my life and onto the page.
What is it like playing live to audiences all the time?
Awesome. That's what I love to do. So it's been really great. We've had a lot of full houses on this tour and sellouts, and we did a festival when we were in Medicine Hat. So that was a lot of new ears that we were able to reach. And it's good. This feels like one of the biggest tours that we've put together and had the best reception for it. So we're really on a roll right now.
Now, when you go to put on a live show, how do you decide what elements go into it?
Well, we try to span a lot of genres, so that's a big part, is finding the right time to play the country song and the right time to play the jazz song and the right time to introduce just the bass and voice when Beth and I do duos like that, you know, and where the ballad goes and where the funny stories go. We try to really compose the show so that there's a flow, because the songs that we do range from jazz to, you know, old country standards like Mamas, Don't Let Your Babies Grow Up to Be Cowboys. And then we'll do a Nina Simone tune, you know, later on that's very jazzy. So the big challenge in the set is making sure that all seems cohesive and makes sense for everybody that's listening.
And do you have any plans or goals that you're working on for the future?
I'm going to dial down on the ambition for a little bit, because I did the last year I put out 2 albums and did 3 tours, and I've been away from home a lot, and when I go back home I'm going to take a little rest after this tour, and I'm probably going to do some more writing, and I think the next album is about 3 years off. I'll spend a lot of time touring and building this album. This album feels like it's a keeper, and it's got a bit of staying power, so I think that things will slow down a little, which for me is still pretty quick. I like to work hard.
After the break, tradition continues at a local high school.